I have to say, this is by far the most surprising bracket reveal that I've ever seen. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. And yes, one more car video before I get back to the studio. I'm back in South Carolina, but I had to take my daughter to softball practice, so one more video, not in studio. I did the live show about the bracket reveal, and if you watched that, you know 100% I was shocked. Now, the first thing I want to say is West Virginia actually benefited from their debacle on Sunday. West Virginia received the 3 seed and Oklahoma State received the 4 seed. I know West Virginia did finish above Oklahoma State by 1 spot, but Oklahoma State has a better record. They're 20-8 and West Virginia's 18-9. They beat West Virginia 2 out of their 3 meetings, and Oklahoma State got to the Big 12 championship. West Virginia was eliminated in the second round by Oklahoma State. So I'm not really complaining, but I am surprised. But the conference that benefited the most from Selection Sunday was the Big 10. Dadgum, they favored them like crazy. I agree with Illinois being a 1 seed. I agree with Michigan being a 1 seed. And I agree with Iowa being a 2 seed. But I don't agree with Ohio State being a 2 seed. They have a decent record, 21-9. And if they would have won the Big 10 championship game, then I would have had them as a 2 seed. Since they got beat, I had them as a upper echelon 3 seed. So that's not a terrible, mishap. Purdue as a 4 seed, that's about right. But then you have Wisconsin as a 9 seed. They're 17-12. They started struggling at the end of the season. Maryland as a 10 seed, 16-13. I do think them beating Michigan State in the Big 10 tournament put them in, so I can't argue with that too much. But then Rutgers as a 10 seed, they're 15-11, and their resume isn't all that great. And then there's Michigan State, who's 15-12. Had they beat Maryland in the Big 10 tournament, I would have had them barely in, but since they lost, I had them barely out. Well, the committee didn't agree with me on that. So the Big 10 100% benefited from Selection Sunday. Now let's look at the teams that got robbed. First team that immediately pops out is Toledo. They were 21-8 and they finished first in the MAC in the regular season. I had them in. I thought Ohio was robbing somebody of a spot because I had Toledo in, and Ohio won the automatic bid from the MAC. Well, I guess there was only room for 1 MAC member in the Big Dance. I do not agree with that. In the Big East, you had Xavier, who was 13-8, and St. John's, who was 16-11. And yes, both of those were on the bubble, so it could have gone either or. But I think those 2 teams were better than, say, a Maryland or a Michigan State, and definitely a Rutgers. The big issue I have is Rutgers. Out of the AAC, Memphis definitely deserved a spot. They finished the season 16-8, 3rd in the AAC. Not a strong resume, but they finished the season strong, and they got eliminated in the semifinal in the AAC tournament against Houston, and they held their own. They looked good. Memphis looked like a tournament team in that game. SMU had an argument. They finished 11-5. They had some COVID issues, but they had a decent season. They looked like a tournament team. 2 teams out of the Mountain West that I felt got snubbed. Boise State, 18-8. Colorado State, 18-6. Both of those teams had pretty good resumes. And the conference that I think was devalued was the A10. I think the A10 should have definitely gotten at least 1 more team in. I mean, you have to count games against each other just like you do in the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC as good games. So they do have strong resumes. You have St. Louis, who was 14-6. A good resume with wins against fellow A10 opponents. Same thing with Davidson, 13-8. Same thing with George Mason, 13-9. Dayton, 14-9. Richmond, 13-8. Richmond played West Virginia in a loss pretty well, though. I think the Big 10 benefited from Selection Sunday, and I think the A10 got robbed on Selection Sunday. I'm not saying the A10 should have got, 4 or 5 members in, and the Big 10 got, 3 or 4 too many in, but definitely 1 or 2 should have been swapped from the Big 10 to the A10. That's just my opinion. But I have my brackets made out. I did my live picks on my live show, but I'm going to break it down throughout the week and give you my upsets and why I think those upsets will happen, including a possible 2 beating a 15. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.